Hello, I'm Jonathan Mast, and welcome to this edition of the Sedgwick Podcast. And we've got a returning guest today, Barry Porter. And Barry, we're going to talk about crash course on autonomous and electric vehicles. Do you want to tell the listening audience a little bit about what you do with the organization?
Sure. I head up the quality control division for North America for our heavy equipment and specialty units, which include the EVs. So look at all kinds of losses and all kinds of situations on a daily basis.
Awesome. Well, this is an area that seems to just continuously be evolving. I just came back from Phoenix and saw one of the Waygos. I guess the Wygo is beef, but anyway, the autonomous driving car taking people places, and tried to catch one, but we couldn't get it. But what trends are you seeing in today's market related to EV safety specifically?
About the EV safety specifically, that's a really interesting topic. One of the things that I have read about recently and done a little research is that EVs are actually sometimes twice as heavy as a normal combustion engine vehicle because of the weight of the battery. And so those barriers that you see along the side of the road as you go around corners and those kind of things, they're not typically designed for that kind of weight. And so as far as safety goes, there are some concerns. I think they're going to have to re-engineer some of those construction specs and things to keep us safe in between each lane and around the corners. Overall, they're reasonably safe, but we have heard some of those great YouTube sensations about some of them catching fire. So there are some concerns there.
Yeah, I think another one that just was recently in the news was a trend of a few people were getting, like, the battery died while they were inside and they weren't aware of how to get out. Are you familiar
Sure.
with that?
I haven't seen that one, but that's probably a reasonable thing to think about. A lot of things are different because. And so just getting aware and being aware of what your vehicle does and maybe how it operates, and certainly important information like you're talking about getting out of the vehicle, but it's also, where are you going to get it fixed? If something happens, that's not really the time to figure out what to do and how to do it and where to go.
It's certainly not like the old days and you just driving through some random small town, right? And your car broke down. There was generally somebody that could fix it. But now, right. Whether you're a fleet owner or a personal owner, you got to think through those things. So, the good news on that issue is there is apparently on most electric vehicles a switch or a button that if they know where it's at, it releases the door and they can get out. But if we move on to the property loss adjustment area, how do those unique aspects of electric vehicles, compared to combustion engines, influence loss adjustment?
There's a lot of factors to think about that as you were just bringing up, there's a lot of things to think about that we typically haven't. And so it's really important to have educated and qualified appraisers and adjusters and shops involved in the process, anywhere from storing the vehicle safely. Sometimes when there's been accidents, they need to be out and away from your house or away from a commercial building at the shop. They've got specific tools that they have to use, repair procedures, and so there's just a lot of things to think about that. As far as also, salvage disposal and the repair costs are another big thing to think about as we look through those. CCC reported through one of the Forbes articles that on a lower end vehicle, EVs are 27% higher to repair, and on mid-tier vehicles, they're 58% more costly to repair. And so, all of that reflects on how we look at a total loss, how it also affects premiums. So there's just a lot of factors that make EVs unique compared to the combustion vehicle.
Well, and that leads, to the next question. Certainly I would think there are different challenges that you face when assessing that damage on an electric vehicle, and where having well-trained people who know what they're doing. How would someone know that they're getting an accurate claim evaluation if they do have that damage?
I think one of the most important things is that most of the manufacturers that have EVs have some kind of a certified repair network. Some of them are dealer shops, but a lot of them are independent shops as well that have gotten training, have the adequate tools and personnel to repair the vehicles. And so a lot of times it's even difficult to diagnose it all. And so getting it to one of those qualified shops, I think, is paramount for the owner and for the insurance company.
And what's the impact on what's called the Advanced Driver Assistance System, or ADAS, I think is the acronym, on claims adjustment for electric vehicles?
It's not just electric vehicles. The ADAS area has just exploded because of safety, and so your car has sensors all around it. I think one of the latest Mercedes has 32 onboard computers. It's amazing how technologically advanced they're getting. But the EVs, especially Tesla, is really unusual. They use just cameras. They don't necessarily use the sensors like a lot of the other vehicles do. So they are self-calibrating. That means they, once you do the repairs, the cameras automatically adjust and aim and reconfigure all the electronics. A lot of the other vehicles don't. I had a Porsche the other day that was, after the repairs were done, we had to pay almost $3,500 just to get all of the sensors recalibrated. So that's another piece of the increased cost of vehicle repair, but some of those really are also specific to the EV genre.
Now that you say it, that makes sense. I have to say, personally, I love the lane changing warning, because I think that's one of the best inventions ever.
Sure, I agree.
Prevent the blind spot. In the context of EVs, electric vehicles, how has the property loss adjustment process evolved with the integration of telematics data?
Technology is changing a lot of things for us in the industry. We utilize AI tools when we triage claims to decide whether they're probably a total loss or not. It sends it to a different area for evaluation. And then the telematics, what that really is all of the systems that we utilize. And when the EVs first came out, nobody really had a regular or a regulated way to figure labor. Parts were hard to obtain as far as parts pricing. And so that's come a long way. Now most of that is available in the major systems. And most of the new EV manufacturers are big manufacturers that have EVs. And so that's really helped regulate and help us put together solid estimates with normal repair times and pricing. There's still and parts pricing as well. Not pricing, but sourcing. And so it's come a long way. It's doing really well, but it's always evolving.
Well, as we start to wrap up, as always, what advice would you give to policyholders to streamline the claims process in the event of a property loss to an electric vehicle, and how to deal with that?
I think a couple of things come to mind. One would be even just like for an appraisers, you have to be very aware of certain areas of danger on the vehicles. Most the industry's kind of accepted that if you've got a high voltage line, it needs to be the orange. And so if you're for some reason under the hood after a collision, or even if not, you should stay away from those orange cables or high voltage. You certainly should have things in mind, as we talked about before. If something happens, where are you going to go? In the old days, maybe you would just let the tow truck driver take it wherever they had a relationship, or wherever they thought it should go, or wherever the city has a contract, if it's a city truck. So you should really have a relationship, should have a plan for if your car stalls or is in a wreck. And so those are things really to be prepared about in those kind of instances.
Well, Barry, I appreciate a lot of great information sharing on EVs and autonomous vehicles, and it just continues, the world changing, and it's exciting but also daunting sometimes, and we appreciate your insights, and want you to keep coming back and keeping us up to date on this evolving topic. I want to thank all our listeners for joining us today, and until next time, we'll see you on the Cedric Podcast.